Welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast, where today's brightest minds in the medical device industry go to get their most useful and actionable insider knowledge direct from some of the world's leading medical device experts and companies.
Greenlight Guru is committed to improving the quality of life, and now we're ready to improve the quality of education and training in the medical device industry. Greenlight Guru Academy is a comprehensive training resource for anyone looking to learn industry best practices with actionable training from industry experts. You'll get on-demand courses that allow you to move at your own pace on topics related to quality and regulatory, product development, design controls, risk management, doc control. Honestly, it's too many to fit into a short ad. So if you're ready to level up your medical device education, visit greenlight.guru/academy. Hey, everyone. Today we have something a little bit different. We recorded at the South Carolina Bio Conference. The subject we're talking about today is project management and how to achieve operational readiness in the manufacturing setting. Today, we're going to be talking with Patrick Hayes, who's the Associate Director of Program and Project Management at CAI. CAI is a company that works to help medical devices or medical device companies get to market and have their operational readiness. That's the phrase that we hear a couple of times, but essentially it's making sure that all of the products, all of the lean manufacturing, supply chain management, the planning, the international training, all of those sustaining items are in place so that when you get to market, you can be confident that you have a quality product. So it's an interesting conversation. What you'll notice, though, is we have a lot of background noise. We have some different things going on. So curious what you guys think as far as this format, this style. It's a little bit different than what we have done, but I'll quit rambling and let you get to the episode.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Global Medical Device Podcast. This is an episode coming from South Carolina, the SC Bio Conference. And with me today is Patrick Hayes. He is the Associate Director of the Program and Project Management portion of CAI. And maybe we could talk a little bit about what CAI is. Do you want to kind of give a spill as to what you
absolutely.
guys do?
Thank you. And thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. CAI, we're a professional engineering operations quality. We call ourselves a professional service provider. So we specialize in everything from, say, if you look at the concept of from breaking ground on a new facility all the way to product out the door, we can provide expertise for speed of the patient to get the product out and qualified in a safe, effective, cost-efficient manner.
So I attended one of your, I keep wanting to say episode, but it's not episode. It was a session.
The speaking session, the presentation. Yeah, right.
On operational excellence.
Yes.
And from what I gathered, it looks like, and you, please correct me if I'm wrong, fill any gaps, but you guys provide project management, but not just project management. You fill in any gaps that a manufacturer may have.
Yes.
Staffing.
Go
ahead.
Absolutely. We use the term integrative services. So as we identify a client, first thing, and in layman's terms, I'd say, okay, well, what are your needs? What is keeping you from achieving operational readiness, which can't be confused with operational excellence because that's the final goal, right? If you look at the Olympics, right? Operational readiness is the silver, right? Operational excellence is getting the gold, right?
Okay.
So everybody strives for operational excellence, but yes, a strong package with operational readiness is the key. So as we lay out, in the project, you mentioned project management. As you lay out the needs, as you create the project charter, and you do the needs assessment of the client, we can tailor that to say, hey, if it's regulatory within quality to where you're looking to do a FDA filing and you just don't have it, or if you just get a brand new, you go from a paper-based to electronic-based quality system, right? So we don't, we could help validate that. Or if you just need to bring in a new line of equipment, we can validate and commission that equipment. So basically, we are a tailored service to a client, and we've been doing it for about 20, 25 years now.
Awesome. Yeah. So you probably know what you're doing by now, I'm guessing.
I'd like to think so. We have a great team. And the beauty in CAI, and CAI stands for commissioning agents. In the beginning, we started with commissioning, quality, and validation, right? And that's still a good portion of our business, but now we're branching in operational readiness and going into large emphasis program and project management.
Yeah.
So
the majority of our audience is medical device professionals. There may be early stage companies that are working towards, like you said, that regulatory filing or trying to get their product scaled up to, manufacturability and so forth, commercialization. You guys can help them from a lot of different facets. So I just want to kind of put that out there just to connect the dots there. But one other thing that I want to talk to you about, maybe we can get a little bit more specific, is about the actual project management, the actual program management. Because as I said, these are a lot of times early stage companies that maybe they don't have a PMO and maybe they can't afford a PMO. What advice can you give them, and what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are first. So first, I come from medical device.
Okay.
Right? I was vice president of operations at a medical device plant in Auburn, Alabama. So I was I was one of the guys that you're talking about, you're referring to.
Okay.
Right? So, and some, like I said, it's a host of things. So some companies don't have a lot of a PMO office, right? Some people treat it as it's a collateral duty, right? Because you're running the plant, or you're trying to get, because idled equipment. You heard a presentation today, right? Yeah. Idled equipment is not beneficial to anyone.
Right.
So a lot of people focus on that, and you have all these hurdles and you have these challenges, and especially with startups, you're trying to get the most for the time, and most of the time it's like you're drinking out of a fire hose. So my advice or my recommendation, what I've seen in the past, is have a conversation, and the sooner we can have that, we would be able to have that conversation and do an assessment to identify your needs, right? And you might not need everything, but usually if you can get ahead of it, speed to patient, and like what we call vertical startups, right? So either in the beginning with startups, you go from a slow walk to maybe a faster walk, or sometimes you go from a walk to a run. And with that, you climb significantly to where, and that's fine if you can have the predictive steps along the way to get you to where you're not having to go backwards. So my advice is, we follow our PMI. We're a partner with them.
And just so people know, Project
Management Institute, right? A lot of our agents, a lot of our project managers are PMP qualified, which is a course in professional qualification within PMI. And the training is great because it's a very integrated approach, step-by-step approach to where you can tailor it to your needs, and it just enhances your degree of success.
Well, let's talk about that. So the PMP, I actually have a PMP certification myself.
Not an easy process, right?
No, it's not easy.
Process,
that 4,500 hours, or depending on what route you take, of project management is tough. Now, I'm going to be, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this, but some of the real things that they teach might have drained out my ears a little bit. What does that process look like? A good, solid project management process.
So it kind of, and there's steps to it, right? But and I know we're kind of, I don't want to take up all the time, but it's pretty much planning, integration, and then execution, right? Getting a solid planning for it. Hear the voice of the customer. Come up with a project charter. It's called a RACI, and it means reportable, accountable, or even just informed, right?
Yeah, the RACI being who
are your critical team players, and who just needs to be informed, right? Yeah. And all it is communication and a hierarchy of who would the project manager go to get the end result, right? So if you start out with your project charter, identify the scope of work, identify what your client needs and expectations, right? And have buy-in from the client or the stakeholder, which is huge, and then come up with a RACI and come up with a thorough action plan, which with any project it's going to change, right? Mm-hmm. People come, people go. Some things go faster, some things go slower. I mean, right now with supply chain, it's a lot of issues. But if you follow the steps, you follow a strong project charter, strong RACI plan, and a communication plan, and then what I tell people, I just wrote a white paper on communications, and then also sphere of influence within the project manager. If you go in and you I say over communicate, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like to bother people, and in a project, especially with startups, I say there's no such thing as over communicating.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of, I know I'm rambling, but
this is good.
I think if you can I believe in the PMP process. If you come in with the fundamentals, and that's what we do. We bring that to market where I'd say we're experts in coming in and making a package to where even if the project manager's not there, a designate could follow the step-by-step process to go forward and within efficient and also what we call earned value, meaning every action item that we do within our project, we show a direct correlation to the amount of money or budget to where we actually show the amount of money that we've put towards it, and if we're in a positive, negative, to where we can assess within our budget to show, and that's what's earned value, to where we show us pretty much you're getting more or equal to what you pay for.
Yeah, that earned value calculation can trip some people up, but it really is worth looking at. So I'll try to link to something in our show notes so you can maybe get a little bit more information there. But you mentioned something that made me think about communication.
Yes.
The project manager really is a hub of communication. That's who and what that person should be. Now, that being said, some of the people listening, that maybe you're a company of 2 people, 5 people, or whatever, you think, do we need to formalize this process? So what I want to ask you, maybe a company's not ready to use it, for whether financially or resource, whatever, they just can't, they're not there yet. And obviously, maybe down the road they're going to utilize you guys. But what about right now? What would you say to a company that's only 2 to 5 people that can prepare them in the future to not have to have that remediation process?
Okay, so just in general, say, if I go out and I want to start up a company, right, entrepreneurial, and I have no background in project management, which in my turn would be like, hey, Patrick, I need you to draw engineering designs for a construction, right? That would be what it'd be equal to, right? Okay. I don't have a lot of background in that. But what you can do, one, invest in a little bit of education. A lot of the education is free. Not everyone has to go through PMP, but a lot of the training and a lot of the offerings out there are very similar within it. So, LinkedIn Learning's an amazing training platform. Their LMS site, a lot of project management. You can get a thorough understanding of how to run a project by LinkedIn Learning. And honestly, this is about 25 years I've been involved in it. I still find good takeaways from just refreshing, right? Because like you said, right, if you don't use it, you kind of lose it, right? Or you probably remember a lot of it's got to have something to jog your memory. So LinkedIn Learning's good. You can still, even if you're not a member of PMI, you can go on to PMI.org and you can get a lot of their white papers. You can read material, and a lot of it will link directly to what you're trying to do. I guarantee you can find something that tailors to your situation. Yeah. But I will say, don't go it alone. Don't just go off, hey, you know what? I'm in it and I'll fake it till I make it. It doesn't work. Right.
And while we're at it, while we're talking about some of those different ways of learning things, I definitely recommend you all listen and check out the Greenlight Guru Academy. So we actually do have a paid course for project management for medical devices.
That's awesome right there. That's something I'm going to be looking at.
And I'll send you a link. We'll put a link in the notes as well. What are some challenges? Maybe you've seen, medical devices. It's a regulated industry, heavily regulated. A lot of complexity. What are some challenges, or can you think of any specific challenges that we would need to overcome as medical device professionals with project management?
And I'm looking back to my time as working in med device. Everyone's in a hurry to bring that to market, right? Everyone's in a hurry to get it speed to patient because, face it, in med device, anything in the medical device industry directly affects, correlates, and supports the public. Yeah. So it's a huge market, and it's a very important market in my opinion. Most of my life takeaways to where I really felt accomplished, to where I felt like I was really contributing to society, was in the medical device field. Yeah. I do that now still because I'm dealing with a host of clients, but I really felt like I was contributing because I was fighting that fight during the first during COVID when it was kind of an unknown and ramping up. I would say that so the challenges are, one, never make any shortcuts to your quality, meaning I know speed to market is huge, getting it to the patient is huge, and the orders come in and you have to provide it because people are waiting on the vial, they're waiting on the syringe, they're waiting on the tube to go into the device. That's always a big thing. I would never shortcut your initial qualifications, your performance qualifications, all of you need to follow the processes of that. Secondly, I would say that positions, we are, you hear about the Great Resignation, right now, right? I mean,
Yep.
and based on what you read, I'm still not fully understanding that one, but oftentimes I think right now we're trying to place people in positions, and sometimes it's by necessity, meaning, you have an engineer that now, hey, you do the cross, hey, and you're now my project manager,
Yeah.
right? And you know what? Some people rally, they like the challenge, they like the pressure, and they do great, right? I come from a family of engineers, so my firm belief is my father, which was in engineering for 40 years, I believe the man could do anything, right?
Yeah.
He could probably he could probably be an astronaut if he wanted to be. But, understand the audience, right? Understand what the job and what you're asking people to do. And if you're going to ask them to do something outside of their normal job duties, provide them the chance to digest it and provide them the chance to get some training, right? And then I think at the end, I'd say the main thing is I think we fall short. And when I say we, it's just based on including me, right, in the past, and other customers. I think we fall short on our manufacturing process, meaning we don't provide a lot of time for training. We don't provide a lot of time to make sure our SOPs are up to date, and make sure our job, our on the job training documents, our checklists are matching the SOPs. Are we doing our revisions? Are we doing our updates? Are we communicating it down, right? So one thing in project management is also huge is getting it all the way down to the operator level, to where the operators, hey, they fully understand. So, I mean, you have a case, here's the SOP, make sure everybody's trained on it.
Yeah.
You got to make sure all across that line, people are familiar with it. They've, it's kind of like you tell, you do it, and then you discuss it, right? So, I think looking back, some lessons learned for myself, I think I would have invested more in making sure my operators had everything they needed, as in changes, deviations, dot control, everything like that. Because we assume, right?
Yeah.
But
that's a good point.
But until you actually make sure and you run it down, that's when you scrap. That's when everything, you don't want the boomerang effect. So
yeah, that's a good point. I can remember. I'm trying to remember the specifics about this situation. We had an operator quit, and so somebody else. He'd been, I think he may have retired. It wasn't a bad situation, but he was gone, and someone else took over his spot. Well, he was the only one who ever ran this one machine. Turns out, like 15 years prior, when he started running this, he tweaked something. He said, well, this isn't right. This paperwork isn't right. So he tweaked it, and he's ran it that way ever since, and everything was fine. This new operator came on the machine and started running the part and looked at it and said, well, this isn't matching to print. And the part started failing. And that was a miscommunication between our, the floor and maybe engineering.
And it's not uncommon, right? I mean, I would bet anyone listening a lunch if somebody didn't experience something like that. I mean, it might be a different product, might be a different position, but somebody's experienced like, wow, I didn't think about that, and it's used. Oftentimes you get wrapped up and you get so many competing demands, right? And you face like, wow, I should have caught that. And that's where, and I'm not trying to go back, is sell what I love to do is the project management piece, right?
Yeah.
Project manager should have the pulse of that. Yeah, military, right? I was a career military officer, and I could tell you that one thing the military stress was, every person knew the position above you, and everybody knew the position below you, because you have people leave, you have people fall sick, you have people that can't go on the job, right?
Yeah.
And that was one beauty in it, is a very simplistic approach to it, and you're taught that from the day you indoctrinate and you're standing on that line in boot camp to the time you're in your position. And I'm not saying that medical device should be ran like the Ranger Battalion, but I'm saying there's some good correlations there.
And you bring out a good point there too. Like you said, some people may leave the company. Hopefully, some companies will, gain new employees.
Right.
Sometimes when we're 2 to 5, 10 employees, even a little bit bigger, maybe even 100 employees, you might get to the point where you have a project. I know I've seen this, where the project manager say, well, what does the project charter really matter? Nobody reads it. Or what about the scope? These different documents. Somebody else may be taking on that project, and so whatever you have in your head really needs to be written down.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing with us. We within our company, of course, we have a lot of guidelines. We have a lot of policies to where we are required to. We call it our project folder, right? Mm-hmm. And it has everything. It has our communications. It has our reports. It has our safety. It has our schedules. It has our scope of work. It's a very systematic approach to it. But what we do is what I think is a great concept is We keep electronically. We keep it on the cloud. We also keep a backup, and we provide that to our home office once the project's closed out. But we also provide it to the customer too. To the
Okay.
client. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of people think, well, nobody reads the comms log, right? Nobody cares who is in charge of the incubator or who is the point of contact for, an autoclave, right? Nobody really thinks about that, or my molding machine, right? No, but you never know, right? And here's the thing: if you keep things accurate, you have the sense of security that when it does happen, and it's not if, it's when it does happen, you'll have everything you need. And like you said, what if I decide one day, say, hey, I'm going to retire? And you know what? One day I hope that happens.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to take my spot.
Yeah.
And I'm not awesome. I'm an average guy. But you know what? I want the next guy coming in, I want to have everything to where my pride would be to where I could do a turnover with that individual to where it's seamless.
That's my dream.
Right.
If you ever leave a company, that they don't talk bad about you.
Leave it better than you left it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one other thing I was going to mention, we could go into project management, all the details. There's a lot we could talk about, but one of the other benefits of following a regimented process and a thorough process is, it's going to increase your value. If a company understands and sees that you're, you care about your process.
Right. And I believe that's where CAI has that. We have the repeat business. We have the reputation to where, everything within program management. Like we picked PMI, right? Mm-hmm. It's a globally accredited source, right? Wealth of training, and it's something that the average person can adapt to, right? You went through the course, mm-hmm. right? It's a very step-by-step systematic process, right? Now, don't get me wrong, you still have to use it, and you have to implement it, and you have to practice it, right? It's a craft. But we found that at any point of any project or any need of a client, you can reference it.
Yeah.
Reference it there.
So you're somewhat associated with project management, PMI, is that right?
Right. So yep. So I'm a member, and I contribute to the PMI North Alabama chapter, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm also in the Georgia chapter, which is in Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
So I live in Auburn, Alabama, and Columbus is about 30 minminutes from me, and Huntsville across the state, but. If I live in Alabama, so I have to contribute to my state, right? It's but it's great individuals, and it's networking, and they have a bunch of leadership development, learning development, is networking with other partners, and you know what? Honestly, I don't have a lot with business related clients, because most of Huntsville is aerospace, right? Mm-hmm. But when you join a network and with project management, and you volunteer and you take on roles, like the board or any of the council, or I call them collateral duties, right? Where you contribute. I think it's beneficial to speak with other colleagues, even outside of your business, mm-hmm. right? Where you can you get good takeaways.
Yeah. But that makes sense. People may not even be aware of the project management certifications. If you're coming into the medical device industry and you've never worked with project managers, so that's helpful to know.
Right, and PMI is just one. There's others, right? There's the Management Strategy Institute. I've been through a few of their courses. It's mostly online. Well, PMI is online too, but it's all in. If you're looking like agile or like a faster pace, project management and what you're talking about, like startups, like really have to get speed to patient. There's the agile mindset where you're doing the sprints, you're doing you're cutting out all the fodder and what's important, right?
And PMI has agile now.
They do. They have agile, but there's other.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of resources out there.
Oh sure. Yeah. That's very cool. We've covered a lot of ground. I know there's a lot more we could cover.
I could talk all day, I guess. Yeah.
Any recommendations or thoughts or other pieces of advice for medical device professionals who? I know qualification, validation. Right. We could talk those subjects, but just in general, any parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts would be in the medical device industry. Any day you wake up, never underestimate your value of what you're bringing to the average public, to the customer. I have seen personally where my product has benefited the average public. I'm not going to go into companies that were my customers, right? But I can tell you that at one time I was making a small syringe with a twist plunger, right? Well, you know what? From a manufacturing point of view, you look at the plunger, you look at the valve, you look at the syringe that you mold, you look at the needle, what have you, right? And you look at it as parts, right? But when you put it together and you pass this quality control, it goes through sterilization, and then for the most people in manufacturing, it just goes into the abyss. Well, you know what? That was actually contributing to treatment for premature babies for ophthalmic with your eyes. So
wow.
it was providing eye drop medication to premature babies to help them develop. Right, huge. Right,
Yeah.
when the rapid test with the COVID rapid test, we're trying to get tests out there to where to keep the workforce going, to keep that. Well, we took on an initial project to where within 90 days we're up in manufacturing the tubes for the break off for the the Q-tips that you did the nasal swab. Right, nobody really thought about that. I was pushing out like 80,000 a week. Well, guess what? Though we that could contribute to getting people back into the workforce. So I'm just saying, my thoughts are, I think it's an honorable, industry. I think a lot of people underestimate the impact that they have. So I would say, any medical device that anyone makes, any engineer designs, anything, put your heart into it, because that may save somebody's life.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it will, right? I mean, it's a direct impact to your mother, my grandfather, whoever, right? Your family, your loved ones, your colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that we tout at Greenlight Guru. It's one of our core values. We improve the quality of life. That's the goal, and I know that's the goal of a lot of our listeners. And so, appreciate you working to help others achieve that goal as well.
I tell you, I wake up every day and I love my job, so I can't complain. I can't complain.
Oh, that is good to hear. You don't always hear people say that, so that's
I don't know. You're right. And I can't say I've always said that in my life.
Yeah.
But, no. It's a great company. It's a great job. Great industry.
Yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate it. So those of you who want to learn more about CAI or Patrick Hayes, we'll put his information in the show notes. I'm sure they can look you up on LinkedIn.
Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. You've got my contact information. I'd be happy to speak with anyone.
All right, great. For those of you who've been listening to the Global Medical Device Podcast. We are at a conference right now, so Patrick and I are actually sitting at a table. So if you hear this background noise or you hear somebody say hey to us.
Music going on earlier.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious what's going on.
I don't know what that was about.
But thank you for listening. Be sure and check out Greenlight Guru, www.greenlight.guru. We are the only medical device success platform that is specifically for medical devices. So be sure and check that out. And we'll put a few other links in the show notes. We talked about a lot of different things, but thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The medical device industry is nothing if not unique. So we built software that works the same way. Greenlight Guru is the only quality management system designed by medical device professionals to meet the unique needs of medical device companies. Our cloud-based platform allows companies to bring safer products to market up to 3 times faster while reducing risk and lowering cost. Visit www.greenlight.guru today to request your free personalized demo of Greenlight Guru.